Welcome back to another battle report, folks. As promised, we've got another desert game for you whilst we're preparing for migration. We're going for a more mobile kind of battle in this game. Not a defensive, offensive kind of setup. Not sure, we'll come back to you in a minute to talk about what mission we're going to do, but here's the lists, and as you can see, compared to the previous games, they're quite compact. So, the German list, once again using Africa Corps, is a Panzer III formation, just one formation here. You've got Company HQ, which is 2 short-barreled 50 mils, a platoon of 3 long-barreled 75 Panzer IVs, and then 2 platoons of 4 Panzer IIIs that have 2 long and 2 short 50s in each, regardless of how they might be modelled. There's 2 long and 2 short 50s. This is supported by a short Africa Corps rifle platoon and some recon. We have a platoon of 3 222s and a platoon of 2 8-rads. The 8-rads are kind of in Northern Europe, kind of camouflage, but don't let that worry you, folks. We've not used them before. Brian's going the Germans again, by the way, folks. We've not used them and they seem quite interesting. They've got a tactical speed of 12, which is really quite fast for an armoured car. Obviously not a lot of hitting power, but they don't necessarily need a lot against many things in this force. So this has got 2 formations. It's got a Lee formation and a Crusader formation, and the support is all being attached to the Lees. Not that I doubt this survivability of the Crusaders, of course, but it might be tempting fate to put support with them. So it's the same formation for the Crusaders that we used in the last game. You've got the Company HQ, which is 2 2-pounders, that's Crusader 2s, and 2 close support, and then 3 platoons each of 2 Crusader 3s with 6-pounders with a single Crusader 2. So each platoon has got 2 6-pounders and 1 2-pounder. Then we have got the Company HQ of the Lees, which is 3 tanks and 2 platoons of 3. Then a short infantry platoon and 2 6-pounders and then 3 Humbers. So, potential for a hell of a lot of smoke markers in this game. So we'll just decide what mission we're going to do, and then we'll come back, get everything deployed, and then crack on with the first turn. So we settled on Encounter as a game, and we wanted a fair fight mission with no set defender. We thought about Dust Up, sorry, but we've played that quite a few times and this is a lot easier game to set up, to be honest. The deployment zones are a lot simpler. So what have we got? I'm on this side, Brian's over here, he's got an objective marker. Well, I placed an objective marker there and there, and then Brian placed one here and here. This one's a bit tricky for me actually, because this makes it more difficult for me to fire onto anything attacking the flank. So the forces that are on the table, Brian's not yet attacking that. He's only got 2 platoons of tanks and the infantry on. That leaves another 6 Panzer IIIs plus his armoured cars off the table. I've got my Crusader company on, plus 3 of my Lees, anti-tank guns, and infantry platoon. And I've got off table 2 platoons of Lees, one of them being company command, and a platoon of armoured cars. So, we're going to have to roll off to see who's going first. Just for the sake of camera, I'm going to roll that here. So it is the Germans. So Germans have got first turn. And this is a meeting engagement, so everything counts as moving for purposes of rate of fire. No bombardments, but we'll see if Brian actually wants to do anything. I think this is delayed reserve, but I'll just do a double check. And we'll get started with turn 1. German turn 1, so not too much happening from Brian. It is delayed and scattered reserve, by the way, folks. He moved the Panzer IVs along here to get line of sight down there, and 3 shots, but never got above a 3. Only needed 4s against them. So that was it. They stayed still. My Crusaders are a bit too fast moving for him to be getting too close. So that's it for German turn 1. Over to me. So British turn 1. You can see my tanks are all moving out, closing in on that German position there. These guys, very limited in what could fire. I put the 6-pounders up front so they could shoot without the movement penalty. They got a bit of elevation to help them firing. The CS were not close enough to fire direct. The 2-pounders were. Everything over here was just in range. So as far as firing goes, it was really a couple of 6-pounders, but mainly 2-pounders shooting. And overall, from all of them, I managed to get a couple of hits. I had one potential bail out of all of it because they're only anti-tank 7 against front armour 5. So one potential, but it was a failed firepower, so it wasn't a bail. So I didn't do anything in that turn, but I have given Brian quite a few things to shoot at to increase my chances of being able to shoot back next turn. German turn 2. So in this turn, the Panzer IIIs did a blitz to get into firing position against the tanks coming over the hill. The Panzer IVs stayed put, and then in shooting, the Panzer IVs only got a couple of hits. It wasn't very good shooting at all, and they managed to kill and bail. Killed a 6-pounder, bailed a CS. Over here, the Panzer IIIs got 3 hits and managed to kill and bail once again. So they then shooted and scooted and had more cover, and they shooted and scooted out of line of sight. So a bit of damage, but I'm in a position to do some hitting back, at least over here. So Brian has drawn first blood. British turn 2. As you can see, everything's continuing to come over this way. In terms of motivations, they bailed out, close support got back in. They bailed out, Crusader 2 didn't. So in terms of shooting, they laid doing a smoke barrage across there. That's our one and only barrage. Meant there wasn't much happening in the way of shooting, other kind of shooting from over here. But over here, the guys tried to blitz and failed miserably. So I just tactically moved them up. Managed to get a hit on the side. It matched the anti-tank, and then I failed the firepower, so it just went, shoot me in the side if you want, I don't care. These guys passed the blitz though, and managed to get 3 hits. 2 failed, one of which was destroyed and one was only a bail. The company commander's now over here, by the way, to lend a bit of moral support because they're probably going to need it. But that's it for British turn 2. Over to Brian's turn 3, where he'll be starting to roll for reserves. German turn 3. Didn't get any reserves. The bailed out Panzer III got back in. The Panzer IIIs and the Panzer IVs both blitzed to get line of sight on these guys. And the Panzer IVs only managed to get 1 hit. Panzer IIIs absolutely hammered the remainers. One is only bailed, but 1 platoon gone, 1 platoon, which is potentially gone depending on what happens with remounts, and that pretty much ends the effectiveness of the Crusaders, I fear. But anyway, there you go. They've taken a bit of a pounding for very little return. Have to see if I can do a bit of damage back in my turn 3. So British turn 3, the Crusaders legged it. There wasn't a lot left, those two platoons to be honest, but the survivors legged it. In terms of movement, they just stayed put. Oh, no reserves, sorry. The HQ units come back together over there, and they stayed put because they had targets over here, none of which they hit. And these guys did all the damage. That one was, believe it or not, killed by a bloody 37mm. That one killed by 75, so there's only one left there. So it's evening out a little bit. I've still got some reserves to come on, so's Brian got reserves to come on. But it all depends where they come on. At the moment, those long-barreled 75s can still do a hell of a lot of damage to me. But we'll see. Brian, I got 2 dice for reserves next turn. Let's see where they arrive, and see if I can keep my Crusaders in the game, which I doubt. German turn 4. In terms of motivation for the Germans, it was just this guy's last stand, which he passed. In terms of reserves, they got 1 unit on, so Panzer III platoon turned up. And then in terms of movement, they moved into short range to try and finish off the Crusader formation, and the Panzer IV were worried about, quite rightly worried about the Grants. They tried a blitz to move to more than 24 inches range and get the full rate of fire. Didn't work, unfortunately. So they moved as far back as they dared without exposing the objective, and then Brian had 3 dice on 7s because of the failed blitz, but he got a hit and a kill. Then this guy here managed to get 1 hit and a kill, and then these guys got 3 hits, but they only got a kill and a bail. So depends whether or not he gets back in. If he does, well, you'll see next turn anyway, but that could spell the end of the Crusader formation. But we'll see in my turn 4. British turn 4, so you'll notice there's a lot less Crusaders on the table than there was. Well, a few, because there wasn't that much left anyway. The bailed one didn't get back in, so they were on to a last stand, which failed, which left just 1 unit on the table, so it ran away. I got reserves though, and they came in over in this far corner, so they've dashed up to this point. And then over here I had the choice of moving forward with 2 shots, looking for 6s against tanks with front armour, 6 against anti-tank 9, which would then, let's say they all survive, give me 6 shots back. I thought, I'm just going to pull these guys back a bit. I'll get my Lee formation in action soon, so I'll maybe see if I can bring them together. I'll give Brian a bit more freedom of action because I won't have to worry about this objective, but I'll try and group up. So, over to Brian for his turn 5. German turn 5. So, motivations, this sole survivor stayed and dashed around here. He might as well go off and see what trouble he can get himself into before he flees the table. 2 reserves came on, they both rolled for over in this corner, and it was armoured cars and company command. So as you can see, the company command's moved over to join this big lodge of tanks in the middle. The armoured cars are thinking, well, no, Brian thought I could move off to attack that objective, which makes sense, but charging off could put him in the jaws of incoming reserves, and also these guys might be able to nick around the hill and just clobber him. So he's hedging his bets. And over here, he's got his, didn't do any shooting, everything stayed out of line of sight or range, with a view, these guys dominating the middle of the table, good range, 32 inch, and these guys in a position to make a move. So that's 6 tanks together which is quite good with them providing the covering fire. So that's it for the Germans. Over to my turn 5, where I could do with some more reserves. British turn 5, so we seem to have hit the skids on excitement here, folks, because nothing happened that turn. I only got my compulsory reserve on it, rolled 3 dice, didn't get any 5s or 6s, and these guys brought these guys on. That's the company HQ in the road for anywhere on the back edge. I've just moved them up behind the wood. These guys have continued to run away, but they'll be able to join them. It's a bit of a kind of maybe who moves first dies kind of situation in the middle there, and these guys decided to move off from around the hill, potentially for a bit of a flank attack. I'm quite confident with how good my grants are going to toe to toe against Panzer IIIs, not so much Panzer IIIs and Panzer IVs, so I might be able to split them up. So over to turn 6, we need to see if me or Brian can get some bolder action on the go, folks. German turn 6. So motivations, he passed the last stand. Again, then failed a blitz. But he got himself in a position anyway to have a shot down there and missed. These guys had gone to ground. Final reserves arrived. Armoured cars, they came in on this corner. So Brian has put a big wodge of his company over here. I think he's going to make a push on that objective over there. So there was very little shooting. One dice is shooting again, folks. Sorry for the boring action, but we'll see. Everything's here now. We've just got to push on so we don't time out and get a boring draw. These fair fight missions are quite often prone to draw, so we're going to try and avoid that and get stuck in. British turn 6, the last reserves arrived in the worst place for me. I've gathered Lee's there, anti-tank guns have moved out as well, and they're in a position where they can hit anything coming around that corner if they're still alive. And that's it, sorry folks. Something's going to happen next turn. Or we're all going to die of boredom. So we're both ready to make our moves, so we'll see what happens in turn 7. German turn 7, the sole surviving Panzer III finally legged it, and Brian's made a move over here. These guys, both units blitzed and then tacticaled to get into line of sight of the grants, and these all dashed out of the cover but staying out with the inches of the grants. Then he's shooting the one of the long barrels. They only got 2 hits, a long barrel and a short barrel, and one of the long barrels failed to save. It would have failed it against a short barrel, incidentally. It was a bad save, so one of them's dead, so that's well under pressure. As you can see as well, these armoured cars are going after my infantry. So there's a lot happening over here. Brian's keeping these guys going to ground. Had an opportunity to shoot one of the 6-pounders, but you know, they've got a 3-up save. So it would be a long shot to kill them, so I decided to stay going to ground. So I've got to do something in my turn 7. And I can't just be scared and try to defend, so I'll attack myself. British turn 7, so the grants have shot up that road. One of the HQ platoon did a successful follow me as well. So there's HQ platoon and the survivors of that platoon there. Then over here, the armoured cars are just shooting along with a dash and a follow me. They stayed put, fired, tried to do a shoot and scoot just to back off a bit, but failed. They managed to destroy just the one Panzer IV. They only got 2 hits, and one of them saved because of the range mainly. So it's pivoting a bit this game. We'll see how it goes. Oh, you'll notice, by the way, that position is not such a good firing position. He's going to need a blitz or just take a reduced rate of fire to get a lot of shots at me, or just come down off the hill. But we'll see what Brian does. But that was one reason why I wanted to get right up the side there. Gentlemen, turn 8. So these guys did a blitz in order to get them all in line of sight and not stuck on the wrong side of the hill, really. To give as many targets as possible. One went down there. These guys decided to dash an unsuccessful follow me though. Brian's thoughts are that there's probably nothing going to take that objective that he cannot react to, and if he can get infantry on that, he's probably in a very good position. Oh, now the shooting over here went terrible. I only got 2 hits, and I saved one. That company commander saved that one. Oh, he only managed to bail on it. Then over here, once again, he only got 2 hits out of all that. No, 3 hits out of all the shooting. 1 long and 2 short. The long one was a save. One of the shots was a save, and one of the shots was a fail, but only ended up in a bail. These guys at the front tactically moved. They dashed, tried a couple of cannon shots, 1 hit, but it's saved. So I'll quickly move over to my turn as things are starting to come to a head now. Brit, turn 8. So he didn't get back in even with the reroll. He didn't get back in, but the survivors stayed. The armour cars kept charging up towards the rear. There were no real opportunities to shoot anything. The rest of the movement really was these guys dashing up to the objective, which makes it hard for them to go over, but we'll see. We'll see. Brian's still in the game over here. And then as far as shooting goes, the guys tried to blitz and failed. They did, however, manage to get 1 hit and destroyed a Panzer IV. The 6-pounders fired, got a hit, but the Panzer IV made it safe. And over here, there was just 2 dice of firing, and the Panzer III that was hit made it safe. So, we'll have to see if Brian can kill those 2 tanks and get his infantry over. German turn 9 is a bit of a marathon, folks. So, over here the infantry moved up, so they're contesting the objective for what that's worth just now. The tanks did some blitzing and shooting and scooting, and they were bloody awful. They've really failed to deliver in this game, the Panzer Force. They just not hit anything. It's terrible dice. Not much you can do with bad dice. Over here, they stayed put again just to get full rate of fire, and they only managed to bail. Once again, a few hits, a few saves, 1 failed save, ended up with a bail. Over here, the armour cars moved up to some shooting to no effect, and then the 2-2s moved into assault, and they managed to kill 3 bases on the way in. Didn't lose anything to any counter fire, but then the Brits counter-attacked, and the armour cars had to break off the counter-attack on a 6. But they killed 3 bases, so that objective is looking just as rocky as this objective. So let's see if I can do anything decisive in my turn. British turn umpteen. First of all, motivations. The infantry unpinned over in the far corner. He got back in. The 2 Grants got back in over in the far corner. So in terms of movement, these guys tried a blitz to try and get a line of sight and failed, and that greatly affected their shooting. They stayed put to get full rate of fire. Anti-tank guns are wheeling them wheelbarrows up the road. These guys moved over to get line of sight. To attack these guys, that's where the real threat is. These guys moved up as well to A, hold the objective, and B, put some shots in. So as far as firing goes, they only got one hit. Didn't give a lot of dice, but only one hit. These guys, likewise, not a lot of dice and no hits. They went for the 2-2-2s. Anti-tank guns are on the move, so can't shoot. They're dashing at 4 inches. These guys fired and got no hits. These guys managed to get a hit from a 37 and a hit from a 75. The 75 failed its save, but it was a failed firepower, so we have one bailed out Panzer IV. I was considering moving up and assaulting into there, but I knew I'd have a reduced rate of fire against the Panzer IVs. If they survived, they would counter-fire against me, and I would probably end up losing those tanks and the game, I would say. So, let's see what Brian can do. I think it's maybe now just a case of trying to hold on and see if he can manage the draw. German turn 10. Motivation, he got back in, the armoured car on the far side, got back in. Some of these guys moved up, so they were more within the 4 inches of the objective. And then over here, like Brian's decided, he's got a chance for some side shots, he's got to move up, so he moved them up to get shots, dashed them, kept the armoured car still. These guys between them just managed to bail. They did no shooting. The armoured cars between them though managed to kill 2 of the 3 Humbers, so making progress there. And then over here, they managed to kill one of those Grants, not the nearest one to the infantry, but the other one, but failed to shoot and scoot. He wanted to move them around to give better counter fire if it's any assaults against the infantry. Or the anti-tank rifle fired, got a hit and missed. It bounced. So we'll see what's going to happen next turn, because I have got a couple of important motivations to do that could have a big impact on the outcome. British turn 10, so in terms of movement, these guys stayed still, but they've shooted and scooted. Oh, motivation, sorry. He ran away. The other Grant got back in though, so that keeps the formation on the table. Very, very close to the whole lot running off. So I moved these guys in front of the objective. I could have moved them around to the side, get them out of line of sight off the anti-tank fire, but Brian could then move in for more assaults, so I decided I'd put them in here. Oh, the armoured car ran away. And then in terms of shooting, these shot the armoured cars, the 2-2s, and got a bail. It was more successful over here though. The Grants managed to destroy and bail one of the Panzer IVs. So we're going to play on turn 10 because things are happening. We'll see if we can maybe force a conclusion. And just as we nearly run out of turn counter, I'll just show you. Turn 11. We got a conclusion. So that Panzer IV got back in, but failed his last stand. These guys tried to dig in, but failed. Over here, Brian moved his armoured cars up in the assault position. The armoured car that didn't get back in. Kept everything else stationary. And then in terms of firing, these guys, 4 shots, and they all missed. Every single one missed. But over here, they got 5 hits. 3 of them being 4 hits, 3 of them being long barrel 50s, and that was enough finally to destroy them. What that means is I now only have my HQ section, which breaks my company. On the remaining support, there was not much. There's only 2 bases left alive because he went in with the assault using these guys. In one round, killed a couple and then broke off, but that was enough for him. He managed to break my 2 formations, so that will be a win for Brian. And I believe he only lost 2 platoons in the end. 2 platoons, so I think that's what, a 7-2 to Brian in terms of point scoring. So let's just have a quick recap. So to recap that, from my point of view, I'm still, other than bringing more and more and more Crusaders, which I'm not going to do, I'm still struggling to use them effectively. They're easy hit with no armour, so they tend to get smashed to bits quite easily. Doesn't mean I'm going to give up on them, because I'd like to try and make them effective, and they're an important part of any desert collection anyway. So we'll see. Maybe in this game I should have brought them on from reserves, and maybe would have been harder hitting earlier in the game, which would have allowed me maybe to push on later in the game with faster moving Crusaders and taking the objectives that way. Just a thought. As far as Brian goes, well, you know, over here he was actually probably unlucky not to destroy those grants sooner, perhaps with maybe a few more losses to himself, but he could have been in on that objective earlier. I could have just flung everything over to defend it and not try to take that objective, but that makes for a pretty dull game. But, you know, the German forces, the Panzer IVs, Panzer IIIs are solid. You know, they've got a chance to save against nearly everything in the British arsenal, and they can dish out a bit of damage. Struggle maybe against Grants or Shermans. That's when Marders are useful, but Brian did want to play a game without Marders. Normally that only happens when we're playing British, because you can't get Marders. So there you go, that was quite a long game, but it's quite enjoyable, and it went all the way. It was teetering between here and here, and I think it was quite enjoyable game. So hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please like and subscribe. We'll maybe have another desert game before we start Bagration, which should be in just a couple of weeks. So stay tuned, folks.